Have you ever had a dream, really vivid one, where the physics are just completely broken and it makes perfect sense while you're in it, but then you wake up, you turn to your partner, and you try to explain it.
And you just can't.
You open your mouth,
And
nothing. You just sound insane.
or just boring. Like, and then I was a toaster, but I was also my mom. It falls flat.
Exactly. It falls flat because the words don't fit the experience. We have words for toasters, we have words for mom, but not for the feeling of being both at once.
Right.
Now, that's harmless when it's just a dream. You shake it off, grab coffee, move on. But what happens when that impossible to describe feeling isn't a dream? What if it's a fundamental truth about who you are?
That's where things get really messy. Because if you can't explain it, you usually just stop talking. You retreat.
And silence is where relationships go to die.
It really is.
And those are the stakes for what we're covering today.
We're talking about cross-dressing.
We are. But, and I want to be really clear here, we aren't talking about the fashion or the politics or the drag scene.
No, not at all. We're looking at the communication gap. We've got this fascinating article in the Stack today by Gender Benson called Explaining Cross-Dressing Without the Language for It.
And that title really does all the heavy lifting, doesn't it? The mission for this deep dive is to figure out why this specific experience is so hard to put into words, why that failure of language can, blow up marriages, and how people can actually bridge that gap.
It's a heavy topic for sure, but Benson's take is so insightful. She basically argues that society gives us these very rigid, convenient boxes, male, female, gay, straight. But cross-dressing, it lives in the fog. It lives in that gray zone.
And people hate the gray zone. Okay, so let's jump into that first big question. I was reading through the notes, and my first reaction was, I'll admit, a little skeptical. I was thinking, okay, come on. Is it really that deep?
Right.
Why can't a guy just say to his wife, hey, honey, on Tuesdays I like to wear a skirt because it feels nice? Why does it have to be this whole existential crisis?
I mean, that's the logical response. Right. Just say what you mean. But Benson argues that for a lot of cross-dressers, saying I like wearing a skirt it's woefully inadequate. It's like saying you like oxygen.
Okay, so it's more like a need.
It's more of a collision. The article describes it as the blur. Imagine an intersection where 3 different roads are all crashing into each other at the same time.
What are the roads?
Okay, so road 1 is desire. That could be a fetish. It could be arousal. Road 2 is identity, self-expression, maybe exploring a softer side of yourself. And road 3 is habit like a compulsion or a stress relief ritual.
And all 3 are happening at once.
Exactly. And that is the problem. We want it to be one thing. If you go to a therapist, they might want to talk about identity. A sexologist will focus on the desire part.
Right.
But for the person who's actually experiencing it, it's a soup. It's all of it, all mixed together.
Let's try to make this a little more concrete. Let's imagine a guy, we can call him Mark. Mark works a super high-pressure corporate job. Suit and tie, very masculine, very rigid.
Okay.
He comes home, and he has this just overwhelming urge to change into women's clothing.
Right. So if you ask Mark why he's doing it in that moment, is it sexual? Maybe a little. Is it because he hates the constriction of his corporate man identity and he needs to feel soft fabrics to, regulate his nervous system? And is it just a habit he's had since he was 12 years old? Yeah, that too.
So if his wife walks in and asks, why are you doing this? And Mark says, well, it turns me on. He's telling the truth, but he's also kind of lying by omission.
Exactly. He's leaving out the whole emotional comfort part.
And if he says, oh, it's just a stress relief thing, then he's leaving out the sexual component, which makes him feel like a liar about that part.
Precisely. Benson calls this the true self paradox. You might wear sweatpants at home, slacks at work, but you're still the same person. For a cross-dresser, that visual disconnect creates a sort of psychological fracture. How do you explain that your true self is a guy in jeans on Tuesday, but it's also a person in a dress on Wednesday?
It just feels contradictory.
It feels like 2 separate people. And explaining that dual nature to someone who has never felt it is, and I'm quoting the article here, like trying to describe a color no one has a name for.
You can say it's kind of like red or it's a warm color, but you aren't actually describing the color itself.
And just think about the frustration of that. You're trying to share your soul with your partner, and all you have are these clumsy approximations. You say, it's not sexual, to try and calm their fears.
But then you feel guilty because, well, sometimes it is a little bit sexual, so you're trapped.
You're completely trapped.
And this leads us to the biggest villain in this story. It's not the partner, and it's not even the cross-dress. It's the dictionary.
The dictionary is absolutely the villain here.
I mean, we really are obsessed with binaries, aren't we? It's almost baked into our cognitive operating system.
It is. It's all about cognitive ease. Up, down, hot, cold, safe, dangerous, man, woman. Our brains save energy by sorting things into two neat piles. The problem is, reality is rarely binary.
Right. So, sticking with our guy Mark, he loves his wife, he identifies as a man, he has zero desire to transition, but he feels a spiritual peace, a sense of, this is right, when he wears feminine clothing. What's the word for that?
In our current culture, there just isn't one.
We have transgender, but that implies transitioning, which isn't what Mark is doing. We have drag queen, but that's performance art.
Right. For an audience, Mark is just sitting in his living room.
Exactly. So he goes online, he hits the forums, the blog, and this is where it gets really dark. Because the words he finds there are, well, let's be honest, they're pretty loaded.
Oh, they're really bad. Terms like sissy play, feminization. And imagine you're Mark. You're looking for a word to describe this feeling of peace and wholeness, and instead you find sissy, a word that implies humiliation, a word that implies weakness.
It's just degrading.
It's deeply degrading. And look, it's also a specific fetish category. There are people who are into that, and that's fine. But if Mark isn't into humiliation, if he's actually trying to feel empowered or relaxed, then finding that term is like looking for a word for gourmet meal and only finding words for garbage.
It creates a repulsion. He thinks, well, I'm not that, so I must be nothing.
Or he thinks, if I use these words, my wife is going to think I want to be humiliated. So he rejects the labels, and now he's right back to square one. No words.
So he defaults to the vaguest words possible. The article mentions the word different. I feel like this is a trap a lot of men fall into. Honey, I just feel different when I do it.
Oh, the word different is a relationship landmine.
Explain that. Because to me, different sounds so benign. It sounds like I'm trying new pizza topping.
To the speaker, yeah. To the speaker, different means a break from the norm. It means relaxed. But put yourself in the partner's shoes for a second. Your husband sits you down, he looks all serious, and he says, I feel different when I'm this other person.
Yeah, okay. My stomach just dropped.
Right. Your brain immediately goes into panic mode. Different creates a vacuum, and fear hates a vacuum. So the partner fills that vacuum with their worst nightmares. Different means he doesn't love me. Different means he wants to be a woman. Different means our entire life has been a lie.
So it's a translation error. Mark is trying to translate peace, but his wife is hearing threat.
And that translation error is what builds the wall of silence.
Let's talk about that wall, because this is where the article shifts from, like, linguistics to pure relationship psychology. The fear of being misread is just paralyzing.
It is, and it's not an irrational fear, you know. Let's just think about cultural anecdotes. If a man is hiding something, what is the default assumption?
An affair, 100%.
Exactly. Secrecy just looks like cheating. The behaviors are identical. Hiding the phone, locking the door, staying up late, being emotionally distant.
So the partner's thinking he's seeing someone else. And in a way, he kind of is. He's seeing this other version of himself.
That's a really profound way to put it. But the partner also has these other fears, right? Is he gay? Is he unhappy in our marriage?
And Benson points out we have all this cultural baggage, too. I mean, think about movies. When do we see cross-dressing?
It's either a punchline or a monster.
Yeah, a punchline like Mrs. Doubtfire, or it's a disguise for a villain, like Psycho.
Right. We don't have many cultural scripts for happy, well-adjusted guy who wears silk at home. So Mark is fighting Hollywood, he's fighting the dictionary, and he's fighting his wife's anxiety. It's overwhelming.
So what does he do? He lies. Or, as the article puts it so beautifully, he engages in the dance of omission.
I love that phrase, the dance of omission. It's so tragic.
It doesn't sound malicious, though.
It isn't. It's a survival mechanism. It's risk assessment. Mark is thinking, if I tell her everything, she leaves. If I tell her nothing, I go crazy. So I'll tell her 10%.
Just enough to relieve the pressure, but not enough to scare her away.
Exactly. Oh, I just like the fabric. Or it's just a joke. You minimize it. But the problem with the dance of omission is that it completely destroys intimacy.
You can't be truly known.
You can't. Not if you're hiding 90% of the thing that's taking up your headspace.
And you're also dealing with this massive internal shame. And if you already think you're a freak, you are not going to be eager to explain all the details to the person whose opinion matters most to you in the whole world.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm ashamed, so I hide. I hide, which looks suspicious. My partner gets suspicious, which makes me feel unsafe. So I hide more.
Okay, we've painted a pretty bleak picture here. We've got no words, we have terrified partners, and we have a cycle of shame. Benson doesn't just leave us in the pit. She offers some bridges.
She does. And I think the first step is actually the most counterintuitive one.
Which is?
Stop trying to find the perfect definition. Lead with the confusion.
Lead with the confusion.
Yes. Instead of trying to present this polished PowerPoint on why I do this, you start the conversation by just admitting, I don't have the words for this.
I'm not sure I can fully explain this, but I really want to try.
Exactly. And think about how that lands. It completely changes the dynamic from I have a secret life to I have a struggle and I want you to help me with it.
It invites the partner onto the team.
It does. It lowers the temperature immediately. It's an admission of vulnerability. And once you've established that baseline, that we are figuring this out together, then you can ditch the dictionary and start using metaphors.
The metaphors in this piece were honestly my favorite part. We established that sissy and different are terrible words. So what are the good words?
Benson calls it using impressionistic truth. Don't go for factual precision. Go for emotional resonance.
Like the suit metaphor.
Right. Imagine putting on a suit that finally fits your spirit.
That is so good. Because everyone knows the feeling of wearing clothes that don't fit. Something scratching you, something too tight, uncomfortable. And everyone knows the relief of putting on sweatpants.
Exactly. If you say, being a man feels like a tight collar and this feels like taking it off, the partner understands that. They understand relief.
They might not understand the desire to wear a dress, but they understand the desire to breathe.
Yes, that's it. Another one in there was breathing through a mask that was always meant to be your own skin.
A bit more poetic, but yeah, very powerful. It conveys that this isn't a disguise, it's a reveal.
It flips that Mrs. Doubtfire trope on its head. It's not putting on a costume to hide. It's taking off the costume of Mark the corporate guy to show the real person underneath.
And that's what a partner needs to hear. They need to know, are you hiding from me? Or are you showing me more of yourself? Metaphors answer that question way better than clinical terms do.
The article also suggests moving beyond words entirely because, let's face it, some guys, and I'm generalizing here, but the data supports it, some guys just aren't great at verbalizing complex emotions.
That might be the understatement of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a fair generalization. Sometimes the words just aren't there. So Benson suggests nonverbal tools. Journaling is a huge one.
Why journaling?
Because in a conversation, you're constantly watching the other person's face. You see them wince, you stop talking. You see them look confused, you backtrack. Writing allows for an uninterrupted flow. You can get the whole thought out without editing it for someone else's real-time reaction.
And then there's the visual aspect. Photography.
This one's risky, but potentially high reward. The advice is to, take photos of yourself dressed or maybe even do a fashion show for yourself and then let the partner see the result.
But wouldn't that just freak the partner out, seeing their husband in a dress?
Well, it depends on what they see in that photo. If they see a creepy guy in a basement, then yes. But usually that's not what's in the photo. What's in the photo is a person who looks happy, calm, at peace.
Ah, I see. It cuts through the monster narrative that they might have in their head.
Right. If the partner is imagining a monster, show them a human. It grounds the reality. Look, it's just me. I'm just Mark. I'm just wearing different fabric and I'm smiling. It demystifies the fear.
I want to pivot to the final section of the notes because I think this is the most mature take on the subject I've ever seen. It's about the end game. Like, what is the actual goal of all this communication?
The goal isn't what most people think it is. Most people think the goal is. I explain it perfectly, you understand it 100%, and we live happily ever after with zero confusion.
That does sound nice, though.
It's a total fantasy. Benson argues that we have to learn to live with mystery.
Oof. That's hard for control freaks.
It's incredibly hard. But here's the reality. Even Mark doesn't fully understand Mark. One day, he might feel like it's a spiritual ritual. The next month, he might just feel bored and want to dress up. The motivations are fluid.
So if the partner demands a concrete why, Mark honestly can't give them one that will be true forever.
And if you demand a concrete answer, you're just setting everyone up for failure. The article suggests a shift in the partner's role. They need to stop trying to be the decoder.
The decoder, like they're trying to solve a puzzle.
Exactly. If I just find the right clue, I'll solve the puzzle of why my husband does this. She says, stop that. Instead, be the witness.
Witness. That feels much more passive, but like, in a good way.
It's active, but it's receptive. It's saying, I see you. I see that this is important to you. I don't entirely get it. It's not my thing, but I am here with you while you experience it.
That reminds me of how we deal with other hobbies or passions. I don't understand why people run ultra marathons. It sounds like actual torture to me. But if my partner loved it, I would witness their joy. I wouldn't need to solve why they like running until their toenails fall off.
That is a perfect analogy. You accept that it brings them joy, even if the mechanics of that joy are totally alien to you. Love doesn't require complete data.
Love doesn't require complete data.
We think we need to know every single neuron firing in someone's brain to feel safe, but we don't. We just need to know their heart is open to us.
So let's bring this all home. We've unpacked the messiness of identity, the failure of binary language, the wall of silence, and these tools, metaphors, and witnessing. What's the big takeaway here?
For me, it's that cross-dressing, as described in this source, is really a stress test for our ability to handle nuance. It lives in the margins. And because it lives in the margins, explaining it is just, it's hard work.
But the work is worth it.
That's the key. The source makes this really profound point, that the act of trying to explain, however clumsily, however imperfectly, is itself an act of intimacy.
It's not about the clothes, it's about the trust.
It's saying, I trust you enough to show you the parts of me that don't make sense. I trust you with my confusion.
That is incredibly vulnerable. That is courageous.
It is. And whether you're the one trying to explain or the one trying to understand, that effort is the love.